This is the story on how I make my first horror game in 35 hours with no prior experience in the genre.
Caraca, velho.
Just a warning, this can get very spooky if you decide to keep watching this video. So let's dive into it and understand how I did it. Of course, I'm not new to game development. I've been making games for 15 years now, and at this point I've probably created every single game that you can imagine, from 2D to 3D, first person, third person shooter, even a GTA I tried to make already. And so I do have a lot of experience with game development, but I never tried to make another game because I simply get too scary of those games. I still remember when I was a kid and I got Fatal Frame from PlayStation 2 as a gift for my birthday, and I got scared a lot. So I never tried this again until now. Because in order to make a good commercial games nowadays, making a good game is not enough, because people will expect the game to release for 100 hours and have a lot of content, but there's only one exception to this, which is horror games. You don't want to expect to get scared for 100 hours, at least I hope so. So I decided to give it a try, and I have to say that I'm enjoying this a lot. So this is the plan. The first thing I did is to pick up a common known horror game to get it as a base for the main mechanics for this game. Because something I learned also while making games for 15 years is that you don't want to innovate a lot. You do want to have something new so your game stands out and it's different, but if it is too new, people won't understand, and trust me bro, it is very complicated to create an entirely new mechanic from absolutely nowhere, so it's always good to have a base to follow on. And the game that I decided to take as an inspiration is pretty much one of the only games I played in this genre other than Fatal Frame, which is Slenderman. Do you remember this old game? It's almost 10 years now, or even more, I don't know, but it's a classic game and it does have a very simple and very efficient mechanic. In this game, you need to collect certain amount of pages in the map before the Slenderman catches you. And it gets very scary because it's so dark and you always have like this fear of the Slenderman being behind your back, so you need to hush and try to collect the pages. And since everything is dark, you kind of don't know where the pages are located, so it adds an extra challenging and of course an extra pressure for you, making it even more spooky. I decided to give it a try and move to the next step of my plan, which is implementing this and adding my own paste. So I opened Cave Engine, which is my engine of choice to make any games nowadays, and started to work in the logic. I decided that you have to collect 8 scrolls spread across the map, and my own taste for this game is that I will actually add a storyline to it, so you don't only get to collect the pages, you get to read them and understand its content. And the whole point of this game is that I decided to play around with the entire concept of going to heaven or hell, because people usually want to go to heaven, but they don't know exactly the path, so I decided to play around with and make it even scarier by pointing you some bad things you made in your life. So the nemesis of this game, and you have to keep watching this video in order to know who is the nemesis, is sort of like something that judges you and accuses you and wants you to die because you made so many bad things and then you want to go to heaven. So that's the main storyline, and I believe it's very solid. I did some playtests and people who enjoyed it and found it interesting, so I believe it's a good positive point for this horror game. It's spooky, but you have an interesting storyline and you can actually learn from it. If you want to go to heaven, of course. And before I move on, just a fun fact. I said in the beginning of this video that I created this entire game in 35 hours. It's not 35 consecutive hours, but it's exactly 35 hours that I spent in a computer with the engine open creating it. And the reason why I know it is because Cave Engine actually shows you a bunch of statistics for nerds, that's how we call it, and one of them is how many time you spent with the engine open. For example, I spent almost 2 hours out of those 35 hours playing the game and testing the various mechanics that I was implementing. And another fun fact is that I saved this project 627 times across those 35 hours. It's quite a lot of save, but I like to be safe in this case. It was not 35 consecutive hours, it was spread across around a week and a half and 2 weeks. So yeah, this is a fun fact. Now let's go back to the video. The next step of our plan is the environment, and of course it's as spooky as it gets. Of course I made it dark at night, and in a forest because it adds to the mood of the game. And you have a lantern, an old one, and it keeps shutting off for some weird reasons, and you will be able to see this as you play the game. It is not only a forest, there are some areas of the game, for example, a small city, so you can walk around and explore, and it also have some specific areas in the map that point out some sins you may have committed in your life. For example, you do have a lust region of the game with lust scenes, if you know what I'm saying. And you do have some references to greed and gluttony, like food and all other stuff. The map is kind of interesting, and it does have a lot of features for you to explore and see for yourself. And during playtest, I actually found that people enjoy doing this, so they spend a decent amount of time looking at the props and everything, so I believe this is a good point of the game. Another important element of this game and all horror games in general, honestly, is the sound design. And oh boy, I spent a lot of time doing this. The game do have dozens of sounds, and every effect is very well thinked to make it way more spooky than usual. From simple sounds like the footsteps of the player and the sound of you toggling the flashlight, to more complicated ones such as the mood and the environment of the game getting scarier and scarier as you collect more scrolls throughout the game to make this feeling that the ending is next and you're about to die or something like that. So I had to work a lot on this, and it was a lot of fun, honestly. I even did all the sounds and the voices for the Nemesis myself, including the voiceover and also the crunching weird noises that he does. It is interesting. You have to play to see this because I refuse myself to put this public on YouTube. So go ahead and play the game once you finish this video because you will enjoy it a lot. And now the most important step of our plan to make this horror game, of course, is the Nemesis. I actually did this way before, but I decided to show this last in this video just because it's the most interesting part, so it would make sense naturally to save it to the end. So I had a decision to make, which is, what is the creature that will pursue you for the sins you committed and for all the evil in you, which is kind of the name of the game, the evil in night, so you are supposed to be the evil, not Nemesis, so yeah, it's complicated. But I decided that a good reference for this is a priest, of course a cursed priest, not a normal one, or a monk, or whatever you want to interpret that. So let me know in the comments what do you think this is, but it is very similar to a cursed priest. It was very interesting to make, animate, and create the logic for this, so it is definitely very spooky to see him around you and running towards you sometimes. Yes, you can get scared a lot. Now, this game do have a lot of jump scares, but I'm of course not showing any of them here in this video because I want you to have the experience when you play for a while, so I'm not spoiling this experience. And talking about the experience, the final step of this plan is of course to play test the game and see what works and what did not work, and fix this of course before we release the game. And talking about the release, the game is currently released on Itch, so you can go ahead and play it if you want, and the game is also free for all my patrons, so if you want to consider becoming my patron instead, it would be very nice and you help this channel a lot. Otherwise, you can just go to Itch and buy the game. It's very cheap and I'm pretty sure that you will enjoy a lot. I originally wanted to put a lot of playtest footage here for you to see people getting jump scared, but I realized that I may not have the rights to share all those images, so I'll leave one here that I asked for the player to allow me, and I will leave the game for you to enjoy it. Go play it, it's nice, or at least subscribe to this channel, okay? Let's jump to it.
Caraca, velho. Ah, vai tranquilo, mano, vai tranquilo.